Hi, everyone. I am so excited to have a very, very good friend of mine, like a big sister, Nadja Atwal. She's an amazing publicist. She's based in New York City, but she grew up in Germany and has two beautiful boys, just the most gorgeous boys you can imagine. In fact, her eldest was on the cover of National Geographic when he was a baby because just so gorgeous and beautiful inside and out. And I wanted to talk to her a little bit more about the influences between, the German upbringing, but raising boys right in the middle of Manhattan. So thanks for coming on, Nadia.
Oh, it's so great to be with you, my love.
I
You
know.
know,
And how old
I wish
how
we
old
could
are
get in
the
person somehow, but at least we have the virtual.
I know. It reminds me of a pandemic time. So during the pandemic, when I was still living in New York, you were basically the only person that I saw, and I'd walk down to your house. You live just a few blocks from me, and we had a good time. We'd have dance parties with the kids, and you always, would tell me that being a mom was absolutely the best thing in life. And yeah, absolutely right. I love my work. I love, other things that I do, but nothing will ever compare to being a mother and just how much joy that brings
It's
in
always
into
so
my life.
sad when women feel they have to make a choice, right? There's so much fear in play. Oh my God, now is not the right time. Oh no, how am I going to swing that? This is going to be so difficult. But at the end of the day, you will find out we're very adaptable creatures and it's not that hard. And kids are not a mechanism that work like brakes, but they're actually a turbo engine and they make you more productive and can make you more successful.
Mm. I remember when we first met, I think I would have been about 20, 21, and you were a model manager, and we were both living in Los Angeles. And I think at that point, you didn't see yourself as a mother. You were very much like, I love Stevie Nicks. I remember you said that. And I think the impression that I got certainly then was that mothering wasn't in your cards. So what changed for you?
Yeah, what changed for me? I mean, I was always open to it, but I was not one of the women that was like seeking it. So I was just open-minded about it. And then when you meet the right person, and the other person, in this case, my then boyfriend, later husband, was really yeah, it was very important to him. So yeah, it before I even knew I was pregnant, but it was like basically happening sooner than I thought and had planned. But that's how it goes in life, you make plans and then God has its own plan for you. And, it was all good.
Yeah, absolutely. So tell us a little bit about your upbringing in Germany and where that was, and I guess what that was like. And I know you're an only child, so what this sort of childhood experience was for you.
I grew up in the complete opposite city of where I'm now. I basically went from the city that always sleeps to the city that never sleeps. That was a small, beautiful town. It still is. I have a house there. I love going back there also with the boys. It was very sheltered. It was very safe. I would say middle class upbringing. My parents were very hands on. I was the only child and I was the only grandchild. So I got a lot of attention. And that was nice. There were travels always in summer to European countries like Italy, France, Spain. I always lived for those weeks because I'm a big beach person or became a big beach person. I grew up near the Baltic Sea. So also there, I was very close to the beach. And in summertime, every weekend we could, when the weather would permit it, we would all be, my grandparents and I would be on the beach. And but I had very early on a very clear idea of where I would be later in life. Already with 12, I put in my diary that I'm going to live in America. I was very obsessed with old movies. I watched probably every Western and classic that exists, that is remotely known. I wanted to be somehow part of the machine. I didn't want to be an actress, though. I did win a big national model contest later, always had the option to model. was asked about acting, but I wanted to be on the business side because I learned very early on, and I saw and read very early on, that acting and success in acting has a lot to do with things that are beyond your control. And some of the things that are within your control are things that you really rather not want to do. You know, I always say Hollywood was created so ugly men can sleep with beautiful women. And I say life is too short to sleep with ugly men. So there was the problem. But also the solution, because I had a lot of fun when I was in Los Angeles, being on the other side, going there as a journalist, entertainment journalist, as a movie critic, interviewing all the A-list stars, the same experience that you have had. Always kind of feeling like an old soul, guiding others, people far older than me, with insight and advice. I always had a motherly side to me. So I always had animals that I took care of. Now I don't have puppies, I have human puppies. But it's something that was always in my nature, to coach others, help others to fulfill their goals. And I realized over the years that I was pretty good at that. And also wanted to always expand my range, my knowledge. I always took on new skills to better serve the people that I was working with, and lived a jet set life, flew around, was a late night owl, and that all radically changed when I then moved to New York.
Yeah, and the boys came along. How I mean, tell us a little bit about how, just what you've observed in the differences between German parenting, or even just the approach to pregnancy, that you found to be different Germany versus being in the Mecca of New York
Oh,
City.
it's a lot. I mean, I think it also has a lot to do, of course, in which circumstances the parents are, because if the parents are notorious busy and then maybe went through an ugly divorce, there's this guilt that kicks in many, and then they want to compensate for that, which is understandable, with allowing the children a lot, with giving the children a lot, which of course is not the right thing to do, but it's human nature. In general, German education is less helicopter as here in New York, I would say. There was a famous author. She went on a quest to find the best parenting model in the world. She traveled all over the world, and she actually found out that German parenting is the best. It's a healthy mix between discipline, family values, freedom. I can agree with that. I can agree with that. Even my mother, who's obviously another generation, and comes from a more disciplinarian background, she is shocked when she is in New York and she sees parents constantly chasing their little one. God forbid it touches something, or be careful here, be careful there. Don't touch the dog. I always say, touch the dog. You know, and I was with my kids in restaurants already when they were just 6 days old. So I never came from such a place of fear. Having said that, of course, I was also very mindful. But I think that's what German parenting is. It's a lot of love. It is discipline. It is asking for respect. It's not helicoptering. It's just being, I would say, common sense. And that is one thing that I feel the Germans have down. You know, that's working out really well.
Yeah, you've always had a really good, I mean, the boys have always basically, had a sense of independence and freedom, and even being able to go to school on their own, being able to navigate the city a little bit from a young age. And what I think, something else that it was really inspiring for me, I was reading so much, and there's so much out there about how your life is basically, sort of turned upside down when you have a child, and you can't do all these things anymore. And I really think that mothering needs a bit of a PR boost, because if you look at social
Yeah,
media, it's just, I'm so tired, I don't sleep, like all the bad things. And you were really one of the people that was like, oh, it's fine, obviously life changes, um, but you can still be the person that you want to be. You can still work. You can
totally.
still, I mean, things are going to be different, obviously, but it isn't, you don't have to lose your identity completely once you become a mom.
Oh, quite the opposite. I think you're becoming a better person because you are less selfish. Um, you are very inspired by the love and happiness that you get. I mean, what can be more beautiful when your child wakes you up in the morning, mommy, cuddle, and tells you 10 times a day, mommy, I love you so much. You're the best mommy in the world. And when your child just says, thank you so much for lunch, when I say, dude, this is my job, you know. I think there's a huge, unfortunate misconception about motherhood. And it was so interesting because I could have afforded an all-day babysitter. I made it my business to always bring my children to preschool, pick them up every day, unless I was so sick that I needed another parent to ask, or a babysitter, or my own mom who was maybe visiting at the time. I worked full time all the way through, never missed a beat. I never saw that it had any negative impact on my income, quite the opposite. I think it broadened my horizon tremendous. It motivated me to constantly be a better version of myself. And I always liked the French model that says, don't try to tailor to your children, but incorporate them into your life as is. And that's what I always did. I took my kids on all my business travels. I took them in a youngest age. I remember I had an assignment in Hollywood. You were there. I took my now 12-year-old when he was 3 months old to Los Angeles on the plane because I had to comment for a German network on the Oscars. And it was fantastic. And my kids love hotels. They know everything about hotels. They're very adaptable. They were never a pain in the butt on the plane. When the first one got a lot of compliments from the stewardesses, I thought, okay, I got lucky. And then she says, no, we see how you are. You're very cool. I let my kid run up and down, greet the pilots, even when they were 1.5, I let them do their thing there. Also there, not helicoptering around, and they were never screamers. They were always easygoing. Because I exposed them to it in such a young age. I always say when women ask me, well, when is it right to travel? When is it right to take there? I said yesterday,
Mm.
So this is like almost the same when people are asking me when is the right time to start with PR. I said yesterday, it's like, so it's, yeah, it is something where I also feel two is, by the way, easier than one,
Yeah.
which is also an,
I'm told that a lot, and yes, it's
yeah,
definitely
much easier.
yeah.
Because my boys, they're 4 years apart, but they're like Siamese twins. They always come as a pack, They entertain each other all day long. They play together. It's a fantastic thing to see because I don't have siblings. It's yeah, never a dull
Yeah.
moment.
Yeah, I think if I'd started having children, in my 20s or when I was much younger, I probably would have had lots more because they are so amazing and they entertain each other at some point. So I think that yeah, at least two is the way to go. How do you navigate discipline with the boys, and how have you approached that? Is there a German style for that, or how do you navigate?
Yeah, you always got to come up with something new. So when they were little, the best thing was always, if you don't do this now, I'll put you behind the door. Behind the door would just mean I put you in a different room and shut the door. And when they're little, they hate that, not having access to you. Then when they get older, they're like, yeah, great. I actually like to be in my own room. So you got to come up with something else. And I think the greatest threat is too much screen time. That is a very hard thing to navigate through. I'm not a believer in this zero screen time. My kids both had an iPad and were working on it when they were probably 10, 11 months old. And I never regretted it. They're both super smart, emotionally happy campers. But I do need to have an eye on the screen time. And sometimes with the big one, I make contracts. When he wants something from me, then I say, look, I hear you, but I also want something from you. And I want it in writing. And then we draft a real contract, which is quite fun. And, he tries to adhere to it. With the little one who's now 8, it's still easy. Yeah, but of course, they both want to play together. I don't have big problems on a discipline front overall because they're going to Success Academy, which is a school that is very high on accountability and discipline, which I think is very, very valuable. And once you're done with this school, you can make it anywhere. Everything feels easy like a breeze after this one. Um, yeah, I think we need to teach kids, stuff has consequences. And also when they constantly want things, I tell them how much the cleaning lady makes. So they kind of get an idea. When they want something for me for $45, what does it entail? And that many people don't even make that in an hour. They have to work hard labor to make that. So always teaching them the value of things and also telling them, look, you live in a top high-rise building in New York with pool, with this and that, 4-star hotels. You better be top in your profession in order to maintain this lifestyle, with also ordering in sushi, mommy always buying on like organic ingredients, only cooking the best of the best. Here's your Ralph Lauren sweatshirt. So this is something that they need to understand is only sustainable when you have a great career. So I'm already trying to steer them in that direction. I give them books about business mindset, saving, money management. I give them lots of courses on outschool.com, fantastic place, where they also do their German grammar, German reading classes. They both are fantastic chess players. So instead of just watching nonsense on YouTube, I got them now to watch top players, learn better moves because they're really eager to be even better than they already are. So positive encouragement, rewarding, but also strict, and for sure important that they don't just see me as nice, sweet mommy who sometimes comes across as best buddy. I'm not your friend, I'm your mother. And I have a huge responsibility. And that is something that I have to convey on occasion, that this is a big difference to best friends.
Mm. How do you think you're going to navigate social media, especially now? Specky's 12, so he's sort of coming into that age where they're all going to want TikTok accounts or whatever the latest thing is. What's your thoughts on that?
Oh yeah, the big one has tried, and they try to sometimes sneak and look. I'm not so worried about it because I think the most important thing that you can give your children is a sense of self-confidence. And the biggest problem that social media is creating for children is anxiety and instilling insecurity. You compare yourself, I think, especially with girls, when they constantly look at girls who have the perfect body. Lots of stuff is altered today with AI. You don't even know what's real anymore. I think boys have a little bit easier time on that front, except for if you are in the category that gets mobbed, that is having greater problems creating relationships with others. Very important to me is that the boys, and I can only encourage all parents for that matter, that they're really spending physical time with their friends, because the friendships today, with Roblox being the number one thing that they want to do in their free time, and there's good stuff, when it comes to certain video games, absolutely. They enhance creativity, team spirit, and all that. But the relationships become more functional. These are functional friendships. They're basically all gaming buddies. And they don't even know much about each other sometimes. They don't know where the other person lives, what the parents are doing. They have no interest. They don't care. And I said, look, this is not a real friendship, So, and then I encourage both boys all the time to really nurture the personal friendships, spend time with the friends, go play basketball, go outside. I mean, they have found out now that our children are spending less time outside than a prisoner in a high security prison. That is going in a very wrong direction. So balance is always key. And with social media, it's very important to have constant conversations with your children, talk about what's happening, going over things, making sure they can tell you about what they fear, observe, are not sure about, the good and the bad. And I think this kind of open channel, I had that with my mother. And so far, I feel that my boys have that with me, where they know they can really come to me with anything. They can run anything by me. And I will listen and I will give them my input. If they want specific input on that, or if they have certain worries, I can usually find a solution. So closeness, open communication, very important. And installing, as I said, self-confidence. That is the most important quality to install.
Mm. And just backtracking a little bit, I know you said from a very young age you were taking the boys to your business meetings, to travel to wherever. How, and this is something I'm a little bit still self-conscious about. I mean, I take Raven everywhere with me basically because I have to. I'm her day carer, but it is something that I'm always just sometimes a little bit nervous about. Is this appropriate? Is this not? How did you navigate that? Did you ever have any sort of not so positive experiences with bringing your boys to meetings and things?
Never, never, because it's also the way how you present it. So when you come already from a place of, as you feel, you say, not sure if it's appropriate, you're already coming in with a different mindset. So I always get right in with the mindset, here, meet my assistant. He's taking some notes today. I made it fun, light, and I mean, I think this is just the way how you are presenting it. As long as you are getting your meeting done and your kid is not a major distraction. That's why sometimes I would have an iPad with me or my phone for them to watch or engage in something. And they were always really well behaved. And you need to, of course, find out, is this situation maybe something where this person really wants to meet you for the first time and wants to really go over things with you? This is something that you have to assess. But your child, and if you know that your child can be quiet enough and be actually a cute enhancement instead of a major distraction, bring it along.
Yeah,
I mean, there were French parliament members who brought their kids into parliament, babies into parliament. It was a big news at that time. Now, the
yeah.
more we're doing it, the more it's self-understood, I would say.
And I think too, it's so important to integrate children and recognize, when I'm on a rant, I could be on any Zoom call, and sometimes my baby is going to interrupt me. Sometimes you're going to hear her in the background. Like, I just really think we need to normalize that a little bit more, because there are many of us who are mums that are working from home, who by choice, I don't want to put Raven into daycare. I think that I want her close to me until she's probably, 3 years old. That's a personal decision, certainly no judgment to anyone who wants to use external care. But I think for me, unless I'm away traveling for a work assignment overseas, I want her close to me. And that requires sometimes a very delicate balance of being engaged and present with her and still getting what I need to get done, for me and for her, so that I can be the best mom that I can be. And
My
it's
lifesaver
always
was Baby
a
Einstein.
balance.
Remember,
Baby,
have you invited Baby
baby
Einstein?
Einstein. Yeah, she's got I mean, there's so much out there. She's like right now, Raven is watching Miss Rachel. She loves Miss Rachel. And she's learned to really talk from Miss Rachel. So I'm with you that definitely, I don't want too much screen time, but I'm certainly not an anti-screen time person, because I think that she gets a lot out of screen time. And if
Oh,
it's
yeah.
not too stimulating, the music and just, yeah, the learning to speak, um, it's it's helping her a lot. I see her advancing, super far ahead, and I don't think that would be the same if she was just kind of sitting and being and playing with her stuffed animals.
Right. Yeah. No, I was a hands-on mom. They were never in daycare, but I know that this is not a luxury everybody has. So I feel grateful for my job and that my job gives me this option and has
Mm.
given it to me all along. and I was involved every step of the game. And yeah, New York is also a very stimulating city. I think that's why it also creates very intelligent children. There's everything available, more parks than anywhere, I think. Lots of fantastic museums, lots to take advantage of. And New Yorker kids are very resilient. And also other kids, when I heard, oh, she cannot sleep because it's too loud. I said, too loud? Yeah, how did you make them sleep? I put them in a stroller, roll them around the city. It puts them to sleep. It's like white noise. I would sit with them in restaurants and they would sleep. Um, as a New Yorker, you just learn to
Adapt.
into something that is soothing, and you don't view it as something negative.
Yeah.
I actually get nervous when it's too quiet. Too quiet is spooky to me. I need always a little bit of something. Also, when I work, I need a little bit of background noise of something. If it's too quiet, I hate it. I either need music or a little news in the background. So I'm a typical New Yorker. I became a typical New Yorker. They are born New Yorkers. So let's see how they're going to be later on. But yeah, that's another misconception, for example, that, oh, how can you raise kids in the city? Well, you want to let me tell you all the great stuff about it?
Yeah.
Everything available, urgent care is just half a block away, supermarket next door, 24 hours, best doctors, best entertainment for kids, babysitter available to wherever, whenever. That's New York has so much great to offer. I would not see that if they grew up where I grew up in a small town, how that would in any shape or form make their life better at all. The opposite. So I don't
Yeah.
understand this urge. Oh, people get married, have kids, and they want to move into the suburb because they need the house with the picket fences.
Yeah.
I would like that, so I can have the direct comparison. And I live in a high rise that is like a 4.5-star hotel with any amenity. And yesterday, the kids went downstairs 1.5 hours to their basketball court. Then we go swimming. We have an amazing swimming pool. I would never want a house. And I don't need to worry about when anything is broken, unlike with my house in Germany. It's always something to fix, always something going on. So yeah, I think also there people have a slight misconception around raising children in New York, that it must be stressful or weird or inappropriate for children or stressing them out. No stress here.
Yeah, you've got it down. I certainly miss New York City. I'm with you on that. I'll take a nice high rise and less square feet to clean any day over a house in the country, which sounds all good and well in paper, but I think after a week or two, I'm like, I need a little bit more interaction right now. And I'm in DC now, just outside, but yeah, I still don't have a car. I still yeah, I still very much the New York mentality of just making life as a convenient or less things as possible. And I think that, yeah, I know people in New York that raise 3 children in a studio apartment. Like it's doable. Children don't need a huge amount of space, a huge amount of clothes, and a huge amount of toys. I think that that's very much a misconception that has
Totally.
developed over the years. I mean, so much of my baby stuff, I didn't use it. I returned a lot of it. I gave it away. Like I just you don't you don't need that much stuff. And I think that's at least one thing New York City gives you, is that you don't have the physical space for that much stuff. And kids are just fine, especially if they have a sibling. They're just fine.
Go
Did you
out, explore the city, and you create
yeah.
great relationships within the high-rise buildings. They have so many friends within the building, so then they just get together, go to their apartment, or the other kids come over here. So no parent that has to drive somewhere. If you're in a small town, who's driving whom, who's going where? School is just half a block away. It's a dream, it's an absolute dream.
Did you at any point think about wanting to have your kids in Germany, or were you always much more confident in the American healthcare system? Because we hear a lot about the German healthcare system. Tell us a
Yeah.
little bit about how that compares
Yeah, in
to having
Germany,
a child.
everybody has health insurance, but people have a great misconception what that means. That doesn't mean it's for free. So the German healthcare system is great in the sense that everybody has it, but when you're a business owner, you pay for it yourself. When you are employed, you share usually with the employee. You are going in a certain percentage, and only if you absolutely cannot afford it, you're broke, then the government steps in. So this is a multi-tiered system. The quality in general of German healthcare is very good, but there are also changes, and I actually think we're seeing more and more of what is happening in America. Maybe not as chaotic, but also people forget, the American system, the American healthcare system is also the way it is expensive and for many a little bit like a jungle because America is always the pioneer. America is still the place where most of the scientists are going and where the big breakthroughs are happening, So their dad is a top scientist, and that's how I know, because people come from all over the world to be in his institute, which is here in Cold Spring Harbor, and he himself is from England. So the best of the world still want to be in America. America is paying these people the best, is then creating breakthrough treatments, and the rest of the world usually then piggybacks on it to a great extent. So that's America is the one that always wants to be the first. It is still the pioneer nation. Germany is not. And that is also one of the reasons why I'm here. I'm in America because America thinks big. When it comes to work, everything is still possible. You still can live the American dream. You don't need to be in a certain class. You don't need doctor degrees. You don't need any of that to be successful. You need drive. You need to work hard. And you will be given opportunities that in other countries would not be presented to you that way. So I would say Germany is a safe place, or it was until the recent years. A lot has shifted through the controversial immigration policies that were implemented around 2015 has brought a lot of problems, and the German government made a lot of mistakes over the years. But in general, it's a good place. German values are very much pro-family, but also very independent. So it's not something where you have to get married. Many German women would say, no, more than not. They just people live together. There's a little bit of the everything goes mentality, as long as it's not too crazy. And yeah, I mean, New York, for example, is you get what you pay for, right? It's a very expensive city. And on the other hand, you have the best doctors. I went through cancer treatment, and I'm glad that I'm someone who was fortunate enough to be in one of the best places, for that matter, Sloan Kettering, in the world. That is not something that is self-understood, As some say, you're glad you didn't get diagnosed in bumfuck, but in New York City, So there's always pro and con to everything, but in general, I think America still has a lot of potential. That it just needs to become safer again, a little bit more structured, and just a little bit more of the old American self-confidence, That doesn't mean that you cannot be critical. But I came to America because I came from a country that had a lot of self-hate because of World War II. Waving a flag of your own country there was viewed as weird. And I found it so wonderful when I came to America, to a country where people actually showed such love for their country. I thought that was a very healthy, a very good way to be affiliated with the nation you're living in.
That taught to you growing up? That's always interests me. I mean, Germany has always very much owned its history, owned its mistakes. If we just look at World War I as World War II as an example, Germany's always owned it much more than, say, Japan has. But how was that taught to you, and how do you see what happened in the Second World War impact subsequent generations?
Yeah, I think the problem that Germany has had over the decades is finding really balance. You know, after World War II, then came the decades of no confidence. In school, you were pretty much beaten down. All you heard about was World War II, how horrible the Germans were, which is true, but that was not our generation. We had nothing to do with that. And I think there is a way to learn from the past mistakes and still have a healthy relationship with your country. And I think Germany did not. And I also think our immigration policies are a direct result of that. Because then when the big crisis happened in Syria, Germany wanted to show the world, and that has been going on now for a while, how we have learned from our mistakes, how welcoming we are, how we were basically, trying to be all embracing, fixing all the problems, and not thinking of ourselves. I mean, at the end of the day, when you go on the plane, they always say, no, the first thing that's happening is when the oxygen mask comes down, you need to put it on yourself. You need to be okay. And then you can take care of everybody else. There needs to be balance. And I think Germany has done a lot for other countries, also like they're now doing with the Ukraine. But you also saw how difficult it was for us to send weapons to the Ukraine, because the way our laws were structured and how we were set up and how we were also taught is we want to not get involved aggressively into war, because of World War II. So, but then, you see, sometimes it's time to just hear your calling. And so Germany did rise to the occasion. Very proud of Germany, very proud of Poland. But it's still, I feel, with Germany, a struggle. You see ultra left wing and ultra right wing in Germany emerging. A good, healthy middle of the road is still what should be the vast majority. But also when you look at our media in Germany, it's almost all ultra left wing. I remember growing up, every Republican president was made fun of. Every Republican president was viewed as stupid or portrayed as that. We were in school pretty much taught in a way that was anti-American in my view. And that goes hand in hand with German friends of mine who I met here who just tell me the same. So balance and comes from a healthy self-confidence. You should not have an inferiority complex and be ashamed, but then it should also not swing to the other extreme where you feel superior. Just finding that balance, I think that's the crucial mission for Germany.
Yeah. Do you have those discussions at all? Like, are your boys at the age where they ask you questions about history, about things like that when they go back, or you're not there yet?
What was that?
Do the boys ask you questions about Germany history? I know that they're learning to speak German and you go back several times a year. How German do they feel, I guess?
Since they spend 6 to 8 weeks per year in Germany, they have a good grip of the mentality, the culture. They went to kids camp there already at the age of 1.5.
Wait, there's a kids camp at age 1.5. What do they do there?
Yeah. So
What
they're
is
one
it
and a
for?
half. They had like this little, it's an amazing kids camp where people from all over the world, even from China, they come and take notes, where they go with the kids outside for 4 or 5 hours, rain or shine, deep snow or not. And already, when they can just walk, they start going in the woods. They learn about nature. So I did that with both kids, age of 3, 4, 5. They learn how to make fire. They're only in nature, walking in the forests, learning how to make a fishing rod, learning fishing. So I love that concept, you know, so completely different from what they're experiencing here, from the concrete jungle to, yeah, German beautiful serenity in the forest. Yeah, they have a very blessed life because it's so much complementing each other when they go from Germany to New York back and forth. The big one had German history already in school, World War II, knows a lot about it by now. Cannot really say that they're asking me a lot of questions because they're watching stuff on YouTube. When they're curious about something, they just type it into YouTube or Google. They have a really robust education at their school, but a lot of Germans in New York, a lot of German heritage in New York. Everybody here is basically an immigrant in New York, you know, everybody's from somewhere. I have several friends who were born in Germany, and yeah, I think it's all a very fun thing for them.
Yeah. How have you never, so you've been making the trips to Germany since they were very young. What is your, 'cause, I mean, Raven's been on a number of planes. She's gone to LA and back a few times with me. Tomorrow we're flying to Detroit, so it's a sport trip, but I'm going to take her to Australia in December. What are your tips? Because she's just turned 1 and she's all about, I mean, she started walking at 9 months, so she's all about as much movement as possible. So I'm a little bit nervous for keeping her still for 20 hours on the plane.
The first thing I always said, don't stress, is easier said than done. Incorporate them into things. So I would, when they were little, I would show them the plane, or I would ask the stewardess if they can take them around. Definitely, I always had the iPad ready. Snacks that are time consuming, you know, where they are doing like little things, snacking, you know, feeding is always something that keeps them busy. So, so I didn't give them too much food before we went on the plane. And then we went on the plane. I brought out the cool little snacks here, and then the cool little iPad game there, and little books, interactive books. Later on, little games, magnetic board games. Definitely also their favorite movie or the sequel of a show that they loved, or a sequel of a movie that they loved. So stuff like that, you know, like, and making sure they're tired also. The more tired they are, the more they sleep on the plane. That's always a good thing.
Wearing them out, absolutely. Um, what is your, I guess, what makes it seems to be work very smoothly with your family co-parenting? What is your sort of tips and tricks for that, of making that a pretty smooth process for the boys?
So they are living in a divorced household, so they have 2 homes. My ex-husband and I get along great. They spend every other weekend with him. And we are proof that this can be a great, fantastic situation. A lot of people are afraid of getting divorced for the sake of the children. I think it's far worse when people stay together that are constantly fighting, and the kids are picking up that there's something changing, or the respect between the parents is not there, or it's just not a happy place. So they have 2 very happy places, and it works out fantastic. So that is one tip. No matter what you're going through, if especially also breakups, they can be managed if both parents keep it civilized, and they should. We went through mediation, 2 sessions, it was done. In general, look, you know, they have a long school day. It's they come home at this point around 4 o'clock. They eat, they want a little bit of fun, they have homework. Maybe then also they have their sports and their little class here, and they're also on top, want to see their friends. The day goes by fast. I was never stressed out about timetables or when they have to go to sleep. I'm not a big believer in that you have to turn every child into living by a certain schedule. I don't like that word, putting kids on a schedule. I never understood that. We are all individuals. The way we process things, that already starts in a very young age. I can tell you that you see the personality of a child usually in a young age, and it stays the same. When I was parent aide in preschool, and I went through that twice with both children, so I saw a bunch of kids and over 2 years time period. I saw that there were mostly nice kids, but there were always in every class were two assholes. And usually these assholes had parents that in a certain way reflected it, or they were weak and didn't have the capacity, the strength, the willingness to discipline them. So yeah, it is something where I always felt go with the flow. I'm a big believer that both my kids were always night owls. I remember my mom saying to me when we were in Germany, "Oh, it's 11 o'clock, he's not sleeping." I said, "Really? We're going through this again?" With the other one, we went through it. "How should this go later in kindergarten?" I said, "Well, the first one went just fine. Never missed a beat, never late to kindergarten. I'm sure with the second one it will as well." And it sure was. So don't compare. Don't compare your children to other children. Don't be freaked out. My big one was an early talker. The second one was not. He was speech delayed. Speech delayed, like Einstein, can be a sign that the kid is very smart, and then now the guy doesn't shut up. I mean, it's good to have it evaluated, which I did, and to see what's going on, if there's anything sus going on. But just in general, I think people freak out very easily, compare themselves to others too much, then feel inferior. And I just say, do the best job that you can. And I trust that most women naturally have that in them and want to be the best mom they can, and it will work out.
Is there anything that you knew with Army with your second that you wish you'd known with your first?
I think with the first kid, you are still more nervous. You feel death is around the corner everywhere.
It's like being on 24/7 suicide watch. Yeah, in the beginning.
Exactly. You are very much, oh, should I do this? Should I do that? Is this correct? And with the second one, it's like, oh, you survive. So yeah, I guess being less nervous, having been through it. Once you've done it, that knowledge is something I wish I'd had to just be a little. I was already relaxed, but to be a little bit more relaxed. And but in general, also as a mother, I had faith in myself. I did a few things different than friends did, and a few things very much the same. Marching to my own drum was always something I did also in my business. I'm not a sheep. I'm a wolf. So you need to find out what's right for your child, whatever that may be. And I hate these articles that want to just tell you how this is how things have to be, and this is how you get a great kid, and this is what you should be doing. There are certain things that are general common sense. I don't need an article to tell me that, but in general, we need to really understand we're dealing with an individual, and we need to work with this individual. It's our child. It's to a great extent also a reflection of us. I see a lot of my personality in both children, and I see a lot of their father's personality, and then I see also something that is very much their own. It's fascinating to watch. Right now, they're having a kids' party next door in the other room, as you can hear. They're having a lot of fun with their friends. Too much fun. But yeah, I would just say, don't worry too much, but make sure that they respect you, that they respect what you bring to the table, that they're appreciative. I think those things are very important. And again, that they are confident enough also to stand up for themselves. That's what I'm teaching them a lot. When they sometimes had a problem with another kid at school, or they were they felt mistreated in their scoring. They're both top students, but even there, I always made sure first that they stand up for themselves. And I'm also not one of those parents who doesn't allow criticism. There are some parents, which I find bizarre, that feel offended when the teachers are criticizing them or somebody else is criticizing them. And I'm not like that. I want to know. I always tell the teachers, and tell me, I think you will have no problem with him, but tell me if there's anything that is not 100%. I would like to know. And I totally am cool with criticism. Never happened. They were always named best kids, nicest kids, greatest empathy kids. Wonderful.
No,
Aber
that's such a yeah. That's my biggest want for Raven. If she can just to be kind, to be empathetic. That to me is the most important, much more than academics or anything else. Just because I do believe that that's such a beautiful trait to have that will take you very far in life.
yeah, I mean, empathy is very important, but also standing up for yourself is equally important. That is equally, I think, especially with girls, it's very important to teach girls a very healthy amount of self-confidence, because there's always this comparing, especially with regards to looks. It's a little different with boys. It's a little bit more relaxed in my view on that front. But with girls, there's already the best dress and the this and the that. That's why I'm so glad they're going to a school with uniforms. That is one piece of advice. Send your kid to a school with
Yeah. I mean, I grew up in Australia and we had everyone had uniforms. Public school, there was no school without uniforms. So that's definitely
it's
something I find still bizarre when in the US when I just see people in their day clothes. I'm like,
yeah. I mean, I do.
yeah.
I grew up with a non-uniform school,
Okay.
but I can also see that sometimes that became an issue. It was about who is dressed like what. One's more
What brand
preppy.
you were wearing, yeah, how cool you
Yes.
looked, yeah.
Especially for girls, I think it's difficult. And then when the financial resources are not there, then the parents feel under pressure that
Mm.
the kids want their Nike shoes, and the parents is like, look, I don't have the money for that right now. So I think uniform is fantastic. Definitely up for that. And they're so cute in their uniforms. They one wears a tie, the other one wears a bow tie. When they
Oh,
go off to school, they look like young men going to work. It is
oh.
with a special backpack. I love it. Yeah.
How did you just finally, how did you going through cancer treatment in the boy? How did you explain that to the boys? How did they go? How did they handle that? How were they sort of there for you? And I can imagine that would have been
Mhm.
a challenging time for all of you.
Well, I was diagnosed with stage 3 cancer, which is no picnic, but I was honest. I don't believe in this hiding thing. Also, my children, especially at that time, already the big one, he was 9. And I don't think that it would have gone unnoticed, because the hardest time for me was the time between diagnosis and starting the treatment, which is usually around 2.5 to 3 weeks, where you have this enemy, this brutal enemy inside of you, but you cannot act upon it. So I chose to tell them. The little one didn't understand it that much. I said, look, this is like a serious disease, but doctor said I am very, very good cards, looks very good. I just want to make you understand that in the next 2-3 weeks, I might be a little moody because I'm eager to start treatment. I know myself, once I start treatment, I will be fine. I know what I'm dealing with. We have a good game plan and all that. And I was actually one of the unfortunate people that had to go through everything twice. So it wasn't eradicated the first time, also not via surgery. It was a long process. The interesting thing is I never looked the part. I never acted like a cancer patient, I guess, or people thought I didn't look and act the part. I was lucky. I was still very energized, even through radiation twice, chemo twice. Had a very positive mindset, which I was born with. People complimented me on that. My friends were so impressed. I said, don't be. I was always like that. I'm just grateful that God made me like that. I always saw the glass half full. I always was, let's take it on. Let's do it. I'm not good dealing with uncertainty. I'm good dealing when I know what it is, what do we have in front of us, and what's the game plan. And that's how I treated it. I became a soldier in combat mode. That's the best I could explain it. And the kids were so most helpful because they gave me so much love and positive energy, as always. So it was also thanks to them that I always stayed so strong. I cannot imagine going through something like this alone. Must be much tougher. Without children, much tougher. So also there, children are an energy booster, happy maker, all of the good stuff.
They are. And I'm so yeah, I'm just excited to even sit here and have this conversation with you in 2024. You've been through you've known me for a long time. You've been through many ups and downs and breakups and boy dramas, and many a times I've sat in your apartment thinking that, I would just never get to a point of having a baby, or having that family. So you're always very much a positive force in that. And so it's very, yeah, it's very cool that we're sitting here now and able to have this conversation.
Both being moms, and yeah, I always told you it would happen for you, and I'm so glad that it did. And it's so beautiful to see the photos and videos on your Instagram, and I can see you're really celebrating it as you should. It is there are many wonderful things, and I've been blessed with a lot of wonderful things in my life, and successes, travels, friendships, loves. But there is nothing like the love of your child. It's unparalleled. And I wish for everybody who wants it to experience that. I feel very sad for women who are challenged on that front, totally randomly, and then have to go through all kinds of things in order to have that child. Sometimes it never happens. But also there, with the knowledge that I have now, I would totally adopt. And I may adopt even later in life on top. It's something that I couldn't see so clearly. And there was this thing, it needs to be genetically part of me. But it's actually what you give that child, the love that you give, that comes back to you 10 times more. That experience is the greatest experience. So when I see also celebrities who have adopted and who are so happy and so in love with these children, yeah, I get it. And that's totally what I would do if I couldn't have children on my own.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm with you on that. I've never felt that I have to have children myself. Having said that, I've loved the experience of that, but there are so many children out there that do need love and a home. And I mean, yeah, if anyone is in a position to do that, I say go forth. Yeah.
Let's
And if
do it.
you're on the fence about, do I become a mom? Do I not? Do I do it myself? Do I wait for Mr. Right? Just do it. Just do it, because you will
Mr.
find
Right
a
might
way.
also not stay Mr. Right forever. That is also what I said. You know, hopefully everybody who thinks they found Mr. Right will stay together forever, happily. If that is what's in the cards, that's fantastic. But usually, mostly it's not. And so you can have both. You can say, you know what, I don't want to wait for Mr. Right. I want to have that child. And then you connect with somebody who is a divorced father and has a child. I personally cannot really connect with men that are not fathers, not on a deeper level, because it's almost like you feel part of an exclusive club. I can go out, I can have fun, but it's, what's the most bizarre thing also with the online dating world? It's so interesting that so many men that don't have kids and were never married, they write, never married, no kids, so no baggage. How stupid must you be to view life experience of divorce and the gift of having children as baggage? This is And these are intelligent, educated people who write that. I'm like, oh my God, if I read that one more time, it's like, it goes hand in hand with work hard, play harder. Oh,
Cliche,
one
yeah.
more, and I shoot myself. I mean, this is so the misconception galore that they think that they are sexier because they never made a commitment to somebody. And even if it fails, who cares? At least, you know, if you're divorced, you at one point made a commitment and or you lived with somebody for a long time and you have a child. What is bad about that? Baggage? This is where the misconception starts. I find fathers 10 times sexier and divorced fathers 10 times sexier than guys who are running around 40, 45, no kids, or
Yeah,
50, no kids,
100%.
which also still exist.
Yeah,
And by
yeah.
choice, you know, and a lot of men now also choose against children. I think many of them will highly regret it. I mean, everybody should be their own, you know, should be their own in their own assessment. And some people just say, look, I don't think I'm cut out for a father. I respect that, of course, far more than somebody who puts children on this planet and is a lousy father and is not really present and is not really loving. So rather not having children if you can handle it or you don't really want it. But in terms of what is appealing to women actually find fathers sexy. And
Totally. Like when I see Ryan, trying to do Raven's hair, carrying around his carrier, if I'm away, he's got to take care of her for a couple of days. It's so sexy. It
yeah,
just is so sexy. Yeah,
yeah.
it doesn't get sexier than that. I know you've got to go. You're a busy woman. My last question. What would be the one thing? Obviously, it's a big discussion now, pro-family, with the election on both sides of the political spectrum. What would be the one thing you would change if you could change anything in the United States to make it quote unquote more pro-family?
Well, I think it should be possible to create longer periods for parents where they can actually be at home with their child, be it a father or a mother. I think something like 4 weeks, 6 weeks is bullshit. So in other countries, like in Germany, you can take a year off, you know, so
And
that's
how many weeks does the German government pay maternity leave for?
don't know exactly how it goes, but there's a payment plan so that people
Yeah.
obviously who are out of the workforce, they have a financial replacement. That was implemented back then by Merkel to encourage people more to have children. Don't know the exact status at this point, but it's pretty generous. I know that because Germany had a low birth rate. Still not great, but you know, you need to create encouragement. You cannot say, on one hand, women should not have abortions. Of course, we would like to see less of that. But for many women, it's just like, yeah, well, then create a path for me where it's
Yeah.
possible to really have a child, where I'm not going down the tubes financially and end up on the street. So
Yeah.
there needs to be just something where we then, this way also we can bring the Democrats and Republicans together. You know, I think it's not the right thing to force women into having children, but I think it's also perverted when women are celebrating how many abortions they had. Um, Again, I think balance, middle ground, and just making it possible for women, even if they have a pregnancy on their hands as a teenager, that if there is the slightest chance that they could raise the child instead of having an abortion. Because what has also happened, what I've seen, is people had abortions and later on could not have children anymore. You know, this is there's always uncertainty. Sure, today abortions are for the most part super, super safe from what we're seeing in statistics.
There's a mental toll to that as well. I think
Yeah.
many of my friends that have gone through that, um, there's always something in the back of their mind. I think that that never leaves. There's a
The
mental
wonder.
toll that often isn't talked about. Yeah.
Yeah, but we need, that's where the American
But it
government.
needs to be safe and accessible to people who need it. I think we can't have, yeah, we can't have a country where we don't have good healthcare infrastructure that's affordable for everybody, and maternity care, and a lot of people just, they literally cannot
And also
make
giving
ends meet.
giving the fathers the opportunity, and in Germany, some healthy percent of men choose to be the parent at home while the mother is
Mm.
working. So it's just making it possible, especially during this time where inflation is high, costs are high, where we are really showing parents, potential parents, a path and more support. I think that's absolutely essential. So yeah, you and I fully agree on, and I think that will happen. And I think also that where the two parties will have to come closer together in order to make things happen
Mm.
fast.
I hope so. I hope there's some coming together at some point, because we need that, to be
Yes.
the best version of who we can be. But I've
Yes.
loved chatting with you. I love your boys to death. Give them a really big hug and
Love
kiss for
you too.
me. Look
Visit
forward to
us soon, my
catching
love.
up. Yeah, this is great catch up, and I will put a link to your Instagram in there too, so people can follow on with your amazing work, working with lots of Wall Street power players and business folks as a top publicist. So love you to bits. Thank you for your time, and we'll catch up soon.
Yes, in person soon, my love. Big kiss.
Bye.